Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Muse. I'm Andy Tempty, and today is January 14th, 2023. Last week, we talked about how run rate and momentum are the two most important factors that impact performance early in the new year, and that unless significant investment and effort has been applied to turning the new initiatives that are in your budget into reality, that to imagine that a turn of the calendar page from one year to the next will generate big returns is one of the biggest pipe dreams that a leader can succumb to. Now, I'm sure you've heard many times that hope is not a management strategy. But why do leaders hold out hope that their plans will come to fruition faster than they actually can? Well, there's certainly a set of cognitive biases and behavioral challenges that come into play, like optimism bias and conflict avoidance. But what I'd like to point out today is the organizational health and trust ramifications for not adopting a pragmatic stance to the relationship between planning and forecasting and the actual operations of your organization across all levels of the business. Put plainly, you can end up on the bottom rung of the trust ladder by not taking a pragmatic approach that's based in the reality of how fast your company, and most importantly, its people, can move and change. Now, this is why measurement and transparency are key components of any effective management operating system. If everyone or near everyone has access to the same or very similar information, and that information is shared consistently through time, then the gap, or dare I say the gulf, that can exist between the information that makes it up to the C-suite and the reality of operations at ground level can be significantly closed. I've seen it far too many times. Line and departmental managers want to play cover your blank, or CYA, and take a more pessimistic view of what is possible. And at the same time, senior management puts on their rose-colored glasses and ignores the calls of doom and gloom that their subordinates are shouting into the wind. The result is a painful collision later in the year, much later than necessary, when it's become obvious to everyone that economic goals are not going to be met. This collision leads to painful conversations at precisely the same time that budgets and forecasts are being crafted for the following year. Engagement slips, trust erodes, the negative cycle continues. The bottom line is that operating a business by wading through the mud of obfuscation is so much more difficult than operating in the bright lights of clarity and transparency. Now, we're entering 2023 in an environment of high inflation, rising interest rates, labor market imbalances, and continuing challenges with supply chains that are primarily a result of the recent pandemic. Therefore, many economic pundits are forecasting headwinds in many sectors of the economy in the year ahead. So you're entering a year where lower level managers are going to be screaming into the wind that things are not going well. And, let's avoid management ignoring those. So to minimize or avoid the anxiety that comes from management not listening to subordinates regarding the actual performance of the business, and the wishful thinking that is a natural offshoot of the cognitive biases that lurk under the surface, make measurement and transparency a priority for you right now, early in the year. So, recommendation to leaders and everybody. In addition to building more robust financial models that we recommended last week, this week, I'd like to remind you to go to the Gemba more often. Now, Andy, what in the world is the Gemba? The Gemba is Japanese word, a continuous improvement or lean word that means essentially where the work actually happens, the site or the scene where the work actually transpires. So what I'm suggesting to you is make a commitment this year to get as close as possible to where the work actually happens. Open your ears, quiet your mind, listen to what's happening without getting in the way. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Hopefully I've given you some food for thought, and we will see you next time on the Saturday Morning Muse.